In the quiet village of Redstone, there lived an old blacksmith named Thomas. His forge was the heart of the town, a place where the ringing of the hammer on the anvil echoed like music through the valley. Thomas was known not only for his skill, but also for his honesty. Every sword, horseshoe, and gate he made carried a small mark, a simple T, his promise of quality. One day, a young traveler named Elias arrived, holding a broken sword. It had belonged to his father, a soldier who had passed away. The blade was cracked, the hilt worn, and the steel tired from years of battle. "Can you fix it?" Elias asked. Thomas studied the sword carefully. "I can't make it new again," he said, "but I can make it stronger." For 3 days and nights the forge burned. Sparks flew like stars as Thomas worked, his hands steady and his eyes sharp. He reforged the blade, blending old steel with new, breathing life back into it. When he returned it to Elias, the young man was speechless. The sword shone, yet still carried the marks of its past, a reminder of its history and the hands that once held it. "This," Thomas said, "is more than a weapon now. It is a story, and stories deserve to be carried forward." Elias thanked him and left, the sword at his side, ready to write new chapters. And in the quiet of the forge, Thomas smiled, knowing his work, like his promise, would outlast him. Elias traveled far from Redstone, crossing rivers and climbing mountains. Along the way, the sword saved his life more than once. Not just in battle, but in the harsh wilderness. It cut wood for fires, helped him clear paths, and even reflected sunlight to signal for help. One evening, he reached a village under attack by bandits. The villagers were frightened, hiding in their homes. Elias stepped forward, the reforged sword in his hand. The bandits laughed when they saw a lone traveler. But when the fight began, they quickly realized they faced not just a sword, but the strength of the blacksmith's promise forged into steel. The bandits fled and the village was safe. An old woman approached Elias and said, "This is no ordinary blade. It carries the heart of its maker." Years passed and Elias grew older. One winter, he returned to Redstone only to find that Thomas the blacksmith had passed away. The forge stood cold and silent. Elias entered, lit the fire, and placed the sword on the anvil. "This blade has done all it can," he whispered. "Now it belongs here where it was born." From that day, the villagers said the forge's fire never truly died. Sometimes, on quiet nights, the sound of hammer on steel could still be heard, as if Thomas was still working, keeping his promise. Years after Elias left the sword in Thomas's forge, the village of Redstone began to change. A young boy named Oliver, curious and full of energy, often visited the silent workshop. He would run his hands along the old tools, wondering about the man who once used them. One day, while exploring, Oliver noticed the sword lying across the anvil, covered in a thin layer of dust. The T mark on its hilt caught his eye. As he touched it, a strange warmth spread through his hand, as if the sword recognized him. That night, Oliver had a dream. He saw Thomas, strong and smiling, standing beside a roaring forge. "Steel can be shaped," Thomas said in the dream, "but so can people. Strength comes not just from the hammer, but from the heart that swings it." When Oliver awoke, he knew what he had to do. He began to teach himself blacksmithing, using the same tools Thomas once held. The villagers, inspired by the boy's determination, helped rebuild the forge. Years later, Oliver became the village's new blacksmith. He carried on Thomas's traditions. Every piece he made bore the small T mark, a sign that the promise still lived. And sometimes, as sparks flew in the night, travelers passing through swore they could see an old man's shadow working beside Oliver, guiding his hands and the spirit of the blacksmith who had kept his word.